The Denver Nuggets are in Dallas tonight looking for their fourth straight win, but they'll have to beat a Mavericks team that is also riding a win streak.
That's right. We've got bets on the NBA, plus Monday Night Football. Is this the swan song for Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh? It's going to be a black and blue kind of game.
Hey, we're going to have some fun here tonight. We're going to help you decide what bets to throw your money at. It's You Bet Tonight, and it starts right now. It is time for You Bet Tonight, presented by BetMGM. The Denver Nuggets are playing in that building tonight, facing the Dallas Mavericks. Denver coming off a road win in Houston. Dallas back home after a 5-game road trip in which they picked up 3 wins. Welcome into You Bet Tonight. I am Rachel Richlinski alongside the ever-lovely Nate Lundy.
Ever-lovely. Oh, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one in a while.
I'm new to the show. I'm still trying to butter him up a little bit.
That's how we start off 2022 right there.
That's the way to do it, Nate.
I am ever-lovely.
Ever-lovely.
I'm going to remember that.
You know what else is ever-lovely?
What do we got?
Bets on football and basketball.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk tonight.
We do. We've got both to be able to talk about. We've got some Monday Night Football. We got some NBA. We got some college hoops in there. Of course, my favorite player props in there. I've got a same-game parlay. Lots to get to.
Lots to get to. So let's get right into those headline bets brought to you by BetMGM. It is Monday, so we are starting with some Monday Night Football.
Ooh, yeah. And this one's going to be interesting. I just mentioned it there at the open of the show. Is this going to be the swan song? Is this it for Ben Roethlisberger at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh? As they will host the Browns, they'll be on the road for their Week 18 contest. So this could be it for Big Ben in Pittsburgh as they take on Cleveland. Now, important for tonight on both the total as well as the spread when we talk about this game. But starting off with the spread, because of the emotion that's going to be there in the stadium amongst the fans there for Ben Roethlisberger, I don't care what anybody tries to downplay it. There will be emotion there in the stadium. I think this is a game that Pittsburgh should be able to cover. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I'm going to give up the 3 points. Remember, Cleveland was eliminated from the playoffs yesterday at the same time that the Miami Dolphins and Denver Broncos were. And so Cleveland really doesn't have anything to be playing for, folks. This is one that I think Pittsburgh, who still does have, carry the one, connect the dots, that whole thing, they do still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. But Cleveland, we know, is out. And because of that, I think Pittsburgh has a lot to play for at the -3. So let's go with that. Cleveland also has only covered once in the last 5 games that they've played the Steelers. But my favorite bet of the two, forget the spread, let's talk about the total in this one. I think this is going to be your traditional late season AFC North type of game. Lots of black and blue, lots of bruising down inside the trenches. And because of that, I'm taking the under on the 43.5. We know that Cleveland has only scored 24 points once in the last 10 games, and Pittsburgh has only hit 20 points once out of their last 5. So both of these teams not doing a lot to be able to light up the scoreboard. Some of that has to do with the poor performance that Ben Roethlisberger has had this season. Same thing with Baker Mayfield, who we will talk about a little bit later in the player props. But I think, Rachel, the way everything lines up with this game, fully expect it to stay under. So I'm leaning with Pittsburgh -3 against the spread. But my favorite bet is to be able to tuck under.
And I get your reasonings, I really do. But to spice things up, I like to disagree with you right off the top, just to set the tone early. You said that Cleveland has nothing to play for. You're a professional sports team.
Butter
you
me
have
up
pride to play for.
Yeah,
okay?
you do.
So with that, I'm going to disagree. I would take the over in this one because I still think the Browns are going to try to get points. Cleveland's games this year have gone over the total 7 out of 15 times. That's almost 50%.
They're close. They're close.
I'm just saying.
These guys are just going to, there's going to be a lot of this. There might be some fights. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. I'm telling you, they're going to spice this one up. But player props coming up in the next segment, so stick around for that.
We'll get into that. But next up is some college hoops. We have Maryland at Iowa. Maryland looking for their 4th straight victory.
Yeah, and Iowa, who has been very good out of the gate here to start off the college basketball season. Now we get into the new year, so lots of conference play, of course, for everybody as we get closer and closer to March Madness in the bracket. But in this case, Iowa favored heavily at the 8.5, and I think that's actually a really well-set line. But the one that I think we can take advantage of tonight from a betting standpoint on a light slate of college basketball is the total at 150.5, and I'm definitely taking the over. First of all, Iowa, number 2 in the nation in scoring at 87.9 points per contest. I think they can get to that number, if not more, in this contest against Maryland. But both of these teams are outside the top 75 when it comes to defensive efficiency, meaning they're giving up a lot of points. And so even though I think Iowa is going to be in that position to get up to their total they've had so far this season, up into the mid to upper 80s in a point total, I think Maryland can be right there with them, looking at 72, 73, 74 points in this one. So you put those two together, and they should get past this 150 easily.
For sure. And you said Iowa has that offensive capability.
Yep.
Well, in Maryland's last game, four different players scored at least 15 points. So I like the over.
Yeah, this is really well-balanced team that they've got on both sides. It's going to be an entertaining game. Iowa should win it, especially at home. But I think the total is where you want to be able to focus in on this one. We've got some more NBA coming up later on when we talk about the Mavs and the Nuggets. But let me talk some NBA here early on as the Bucks will be hosting the Pistons. The Pistons are depleted, as a lot of the NBA teams are, and we've experienced that ourselves with the Nuggets, obviously. But as they go in to take on Milwaukee, this Bucks squad has scored 136 points in back-to-back games, and it would not surprise me at all for them to eclipse the 130 mark again against this Detroit team, where they're dealing with players in health and safety protocols and injuries, and a lot of what they're missing for Detroit is their defensive help, and Milwaukee will know how to exploit that. So this is another one where we're going to look at the total just like we did in our college basketball game, 225.5. Take the over.
Take the over. I think this is the best, most obvious bet to take of the night. Hammer the over, because I think the Bucks are going to put on a clinic.
I think so as well. All right, then we move ahead to this weekend in the NFL, talking about Week 18, and mercifully, it's almost over, Broncos fans. We're so close. We just got to get through one more game.
Your voice is cracking.
Well, so is this team. They're cracking as well. I've been cracking all season long. All right, the Chiefs will come to town to take on the Broncos. Moved to Saturday, as the NFL is prone to do in the final week of the season. They move games around. They do it based on potential playoff matchups, things like that. And so this contest will get everything started on Saturday afternoon at Mile High. And I'm staying away from the spread. I don't want to touch this one at all, but I will look at the total in this one because Kansas City has a reason to play. Again, they've still got a shot, albeit about 17%, according to the computer models, of getting the number one seed in that first round bye in the AFC playoffs. And to do that, they need to win. I think that's part of the reason why the NFL moved this game to Saturday. They can't rest their starters. They've got to try to get it done against Denver. And Mahomes, 8 career games against the Broncos, 12 touchdowns, 10 through the air, and 2 of them on the ground. He knows how to score against this team. I think Kansas City can put up 33 to 35 by themselves. Do I trust Denver to score 10? Trust is a strong word, but I think they can at least. I think they can at least get to that, which gets us to the over. That's all I'm hoping for. That's all I'm looking for, folks.
Just get to the over. That's all that matters. But the poor Kansas City Chiefs. They have to play on a Saturday and 2 back-to-back road games and no preparation.
Oh, boo-hoo.
But anyway, hoping to get through this Denver Broncos game alive tonight, mostly for Nate's sanity. We'll be right back with some Monday Night Football prop bets when we return. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. Like all Coloradans, Kroenke Sports and Entertainment is saddened by the wildfires that have impacted the Boulder County communities. The Red Cross and Salvation Army are offering assistance to anyone in the affected areas. Visit redcross.org, call 1-800-RED-CROSS for shelter locations, or text Red Cross to 90999 to give $10 to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund to provide shelter, meals, and medical care. You can also text Fire Relief to 51555 to donate to the Salvation Army to supply meals and shelter, or visit their website at salarmy.us/Fire Relief 2022 for more information. For a list of other disaster relief agencies, scan the QR code on your screen. Such awful news.
It really has been in it, and especially as we got into, the 24, 48 hours following, when a lot of our friends in the media were able to get out with the drone cameras and their helicopters, and you could see, I think that we all knew it was bad that evening because you could see these nighttime photos, and obviously the flames are standing out there in the dark, but I would argue it was even more devastating to see the next day, the aftermath of everything. And so I hope, I mentioned this over the weekend, I hope that everybody takes the opportunity to help in any way you can, and to recognize that sometimes that could be that QR code that we just showed, or texting or reaching out to the Red Cross. But the other thing is obviously to remember that sometimes volunteering your time, if that's what you have to give, even that makes a difference with the amount of damage and the amount of rebuilding that these families and businesses have to go through. As I said, the monetary donations are going to get to the right people, and that's always fantastic. But sometimes donating your time can be just as valuable. Or if you're capable of it, do both and help out, because I know that's what the state of Colorado is good at. I know that's what Coloradans are good at, and we will rally and help everybody out.
Absolutely. Well, very well said, Nate.
Thank you.
Natural disasters, it takes a village.
Yes, it really does. It really does. And I'll tell you what, Todd Romero mentioned over the weekend that if you happen to hit on one or two of the bets that we talk about on the show, maybe think about taking your winnings and using that for your donation. I just want to throw that out there because Todd made a really good point over the weekend. Sometimes that's something you can do.
I love that. I love that.
Maybe you hit something big. Don't be afraid to share that winnings with everybody. And I've got some prop bets that might help everybody out.
Yes, and that's what's so great about sports, right?
Right.
It lifts
Have
people
some fun.
up, gives you something
get
fun
you in a
to
better
do.
mood.
Yes. So, player prop bets. Let's go.
Do it. We got Monday Night Football tonight. I've got 4 prop bets for you. I've only got one of them tied into the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's where we will start with Chase Claypool. His yardage total for tonight in receiving over-under at 40.5, and I'm going to take the over in this one. Now, this one actually opened a little bit lower than this total. When we started out into Week 17, it was closer to about 37.5. I think this is playable up to 42, maybe 43.5. If it gets too much higher, I'm going to start to get a little bit nervous that Pittsburgh will keep the ball on the ground a little bit more than I expect. But I think this 40 mark, I think he gets up into the mid-40s, maybe even upper 40s by the time the game is over. He's been over in 5 out of his last 6 games, and he's got 4 catches for 45 yards in the first meeting between these two teams. So if we get that kind of a repeat, obviously we're sitting pretty and we wind up cashing the over on this one. Now, switching from the Steelers over to those Cleveland Browns, Jarvis Landry. Now, the longest reception prop has been popular for us here on the program as we've gone throughout the NFL season. Guys like Jamar Chase, who just crushed it, obviously, yesterday for the Bengals, taking on the Chiefs. But in this particular case, this is one that I'm going to take the under on with Jarvis Landry at 18.5 for his longest reception. He ranks 108th in the NFL on average depth of target, ADOT, only 5.2 yards. That means he's only averaging 5.2 yards from the line of scrimmage when he is targeted. And he leads the team in targets with 69, but they're not doing anything down the field with him. So as talented as he is, I don't know if some of this is Baker's injury that he's been battling, just a really lackluster Browns offense, but he has not looked good, and I think he is comfortably going to be under this number. He's done it a couple of times, but both times were against a very depleted Baltimore secondary.
I feel like you're stabbing me in the heart right now. My LSU alumni heart is just like shredded into pieces because I'm a huge Jarvis Landry fan. I was in school whenever he was at school there, but I have to agree with you. As much as it pains me, he's averaging about 11 yards a game, so yeah, take the under.
He's averaging less yards per game than what this longest reception prop is. So yeah, I think you got to take the under on this one. All right, 2 more props for you while we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. And I mentioned the fact that I thought some of the game script for tonight may play into the props, and this one in particular with Baker Mayfield. The over-under on his passing total is 221.5. Now, he had 225 in the first meeting, but the notes you see on the screen I think are vital. Remember, Cleveland has nothing to play for tonight. They have been eliminated from the playoffs. They now have to start thinking about where they're going to be in the NFL draft. And because of that, Baker Mayfield has been hurting this season. I can't put all of this and think that he is somehow a flop. I do believe that a lot of it has to do with the injury he has been dealing with, which makes me question how much he will be out on the field tonight. Does he play a half? Does he play 3 quarters? And then the game's kind of out of hand. And I know this is a pride thing because it's a divisional matchup, but at some point the coaching staff and the management with the Browns have to decide to protect their franchise quarterback. So I think he stays underneath this total. I think they hand the ball off a lot to Nick Chubb, and I think he stays under this total, unlike the first meeting. I think he finishes around 200 or 210.
That's fair. And again, I get where you're coming from with the Browns. You got to protect your quarterback and all these other key players. But Nick Chubb, 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games. You still have something to play for, okay? You still want to score touchdowns if you're given the ball.
Maybe I can actually finish on a positive note for the Browns, and that is Nick Chubb. And I'm going to take him for an anytime touchdown. Man, I could not believe that Zeke Elliott did not score for us yesterday on our anytime touchdown prop that we had. Unfortunately, I missed out on a very nice parlay thanks to Zeke not finding the end zone. But tonight, let's go back to that same well. Anytime touchdown for Nick Chubb. It is a minus 140, so you may want to think about parlaying it with something else or putting it in a same game parlay. But Pittsburgh has allowed 157 yards per game on the ground over the last 5 games. Apparently, defense is optional. The steel curtain feeling a little more like a wet napkin lately.
You didn't get that memo? The defense was optional?
Oh, defense was definitely optional in all the bowl games. Whew!
Gosh.
Man, if you were betting the overs, you made a lot of money over the last couple of weeks with college football.
Hey, that's what you want to see when you're sitting on your couch. It's snowing outside. You just see all the offense. That's what gets you going. All right,
Speaking
stay
of offense.
with us. Yeah, the Nuggets are playing in Dallas tonight. We're talking all things Denver Nuggets bets when we return. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. So the Denver Nuggets are facing the Dallas Mavericks tonight. Nuggets coming off a win against Houston. And the Mavericks, well, they're hurting. 6 players out tonight. 6 players out, Nate. And the last time these two teams met up, well, Dallas did win, but it was a pretty tight game. They only won by 10 points. Really interested to see how this will shake out with them being down 6 players.
Yeah, they got to that 10 points there down the stretch, but with them missing so many players, you're right, that's going to impact tonight's game. And so let's take a look at it for tonight. Dallas favored by 3.5. Surprisingly, I think I'd take the Nuggets and happily take the 3 points in this one. But I'm going to focus in on the total in part because of the fact Denver's actually gone over on their totals in 5 out of the last 6 games that they've had their 1 day of rest. You know, I mean, when you get those back-to-backs or, you know, you get out of your rhythm, a lot of the things that have happened to these teams over the course of the season, it can affect the totals. But for Denver's sake, they have been able to bounce back when they've had that day rest. And I think they're going to get a lot of scoring in this one. I think Jokic will be a part of that. We'll talk about him in a second. But 212 exactly was the total points in the first meeting between these two teams. And so I think they get up over this one again. I think this is a Denver team that can take advantage of the problems that the Mavericks are going to have with the lack of depth that they've got for their roster. So speaking of that, how about a player prop for you? That's right, we're going back to the well. Nikola Jokic. We'll go over 1.5 steals plus blocks. You know why? Because in the last game, we were said he was going to get 2 steals after the streak he had been on, and he let us down. But you know what? As you look across the NBA, especially with Jokic, this is a game where the law of averages catches up to you. And so I'm going right back to that well. It is a bet that's going to be juiced up for you, but I'll take over on his steals plus his blocks at 1.5. Let's see him get 2. He had 2 blocks in the first game against Dallas.
And you said steals, you said blocks. How about this? Joker second in the NBA and rebounds. We know how good he is.
Yeah, we know how good he is. He fills up the lane, and that's part of where those steals and blocks come from. Just that wide wingspan that we keep talking about. He's able to take advantage of. So, but those aren't the only games in the NBA
Not
tonight.
the only games. How about Heat at Warriors?
Yeah, let's talk about Golden State going to be hosting the Miami Heat. Miami's got, you talk about Dallas missing a lot of players. Miami's in the same boat. In fact, by the time Miami goes to their bench for their bench play, a lot of the guys that are on the bench are guys that they have signed to short contracts over the course of the last week. They have just been trying to fill their roster in any way possible to be able to field the minimum number of 8 guys that they need to be able to play. That is not going to play against a Golden State Warriors team that gets Draymond Green back. So I think they are going to clamp down on Miami. I think the Heat are going to struggle to be able to score in this one. So we are going to take the under. I think Golden State scores plenty. I just think Miami's going to struggle to keep up with them. That's going to keep us under that 214.5.
Well, you said you think they'll score plenty, so I'm going to take that and add to it because I think they will get over that hump.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because of Draymond Green. I mean, he's back. I don't know why. Sometimes I think you just got to trust your gut with these types of things, and that's what I'm doing with him. I think he's going to have a big game tonight. He's averaging over 8 points a game. He's back. He's excited. Sorry, Nate. That's
all right. That's all right. Look, I tell everybody all the time, the TYG is real. The trust your gut that I talk about on the show all the time is real. Do you know why? It's not my money, folks, okay? It's not my money. If you decide to make a bet, I want you to trust your gut. I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can, but just trust your gut, all right? Let's move on. 2 more NBA games to get to tonight. In Portland, the Atlanta Hawks will come calling. Talk about right place at the right time. No Dame Lillard, and Nurkic is, in fact, doubtful for this one as well as a health and safety protocol. So Atlanta rolling into Portland at exactly the right time to take advantage of the Blazers. And so because of that, we will take Atlanta. We will lay the 5.5 points in this one. I think the Hawks should be able to take care of business there. Again, no Dame, and this team is completely different without their leader on the court. And add Nurkic, even bigger problems. Then down I-5 we go, where the Minnesota Timberwolves will be taking on the Clippers. This is an LA two-step for them. They played the Lakers last night, turn around and go right back to the arena to take on the Clippers tonight. So because of that, I'm going to take the Clippers. I'm going to give up the 3.5 points in this one because of the back-to-back that they have got. And Minnesota is 0-4 against the spread in the last 4 times they have played the Clips.
They are 0-4 the last 4 times,
yes.
but they are 5-0-1 against the spread in their last 6 games as a road underdog. Do what you will with that information.
Yes.
I'm going to do what Nate said.
She's
and
getting all
it's your
fired
money,
up
guys.
over
Do
here.
whatever you want. I just think it's more fun to disagree with him. And if I can find a little nugget to make it happen, I'm going to do it.
You should. Absolutely, you should. All right. I don't expect everybody to agree with me all the time.
I mean, that's fair, but it makes for a fun show. All right, guys, don't go anywhere just yet. Nate has some insight on a parlay bet for Monday Night Football. We'll be back. You Bet Tonight is brought to you by BetMGM Sports. Place your parlays, props, and futures bets at the king of sportsbooks. Get the app today. So it's the Browns and the Steelers tonight for Monday Night Football. Nate has done some hard work to put together some player props that you might want to consider to put into a parlay.
Lobbing darts and different. No, I'm kidding. I have put this together. Hey, when we talk about the same game parlays, and I mentioned this over the course of the last couple of shows, remember, part of what we're trying to do here is find something that gets you into positive territory for the payday without being extraordinarily crazy. I know that the 6 and 7 and 8 leg parlays are fun, but in this case, we're whittling it down. We're finding 3 we feel really comfortable with, and when we put them together, we've got plus odds at 140. So with that in mind, let's look at Baker Mayfield. Remember, I like him under on his total, so let's bump it up. We'll say he's going to go under 270. We got Pat Freiermuth with his receiving yards 20 or more. That's all we need, and he's certainly capable of doing that within 2 catches. And then Najee Harris to be under 94.5 rushing yards. In fact, I think he'll be under 95 of combined rushing and receiving, so I'm very comfortable making this bet. Put all that together, positive territory. It's a payday of plus 140.
I like it. And you've said
nice
it, even though I've kind of disagreed with it, but Baker Mayfield has nothing to play for. The Browns have nothing to play for. Yeah, so protect your quarterback. He's like getting so mad at me right now. I can feel it over here.
Stay under. Stay under. They have nothing to play for other than pride, and pride doesn't heal your shoulder. That's
what I'll tell you. You know what else
goes
with pride, though?
What's that?
A little ICYMI.
I'd take that. Little ICYMI, a side of pride. Let's do it. 5 favorite picks from the show this evening, just in case you missed it. Starting off with the Nuggets and the Mavericks. Give me the over on their total at 212.5. The Hawks and the Blazers. Atlanta's going to catch Portland at the right time up in the Rose City. So give up the 5.5 and take Atlanta. Baker Mayfield under on his actual total with our friends at BetMGM. 221.5 on his passing yards. I think he's closer to 210 by the end of the game. Nick Chubb, anytime touchdown. Yes, please. After we got hosed up by Zeke Elliott yesterday. And finally, Chase Claypool, his receiving yards total at 40.5. I will take the over in that. I think he finishes very close to what he did in the first meeting between these two teams, right around 45, 46 yards by the time it's all said and done. Just some nice simple picks to get you through Monday Night Football and, of course, Nuggets and Mavs.
Very simple indeed. And hey, thanks for watching. Good luck on your bets tonight. Good luck to the Nuggets in Dallas. Get ready for some Monday Night Football. And hey, if you find it in your heart, donate some of those winnings to the fire victims like we mentioned. For tonight's entire crew, Nate Lundy, I'm Rachel Richlinski. Thank you so much for watching You Bet Tonight. It re-airs up until Nuggets Courtside Show.